Well, good morning and welcome to Our Stories. Our guest today is Chuck Force. Chuck has grown up here in Decatur and has some pretty interesting things about his life here in the city growing up that he's going to share with us. So we're glad to have him with us this morning. At the part of Decatur where you grew up was up around St. Teresa's. And from what you described to me, there was a several block area there that was kind of like the informal perimeter of your neighborhood where you were allowed to basically go and come and so forth as long as you kind of stayed within that area.
Right, two blocks, just Arlington and Van Buren streets, and we could pretty much roam. In fact, we had to. We were sent out of the house early in the morning and weren't allowed back in until maybe lunch, maybe not lunch. You have to sit on the steps. And then when the street lights came on, that was our cue to come home and at least check in. We might be able to go back out for a while, but it was an interesting environment. There were 20, 25 kids my age on those two blocks, so there was always a lot of friends and such.
But where did you go to school then?
William Harris School. It was about 1 mile away. We were kind of out in the country, it seemed like at that time.
Yeah.
And south of Pershing Road, which was just the belt line.
Did you ride a bus?
No. I think my parents drove us most of the time, I think.
Yeah.
And then occasionally we'd walk home.
Well, you talked about an important event that took place for you was in 4th grade.
Yeah, I had a teacher, Mrs. Zimmerman. I don't know if it was her first year of teaching or second. She wasn't far in. But on my report card, she wrote that Chucky should go to college. And so that spurred me to find out first what college was, since I had no idea. And then that just was my track from then on. And Mrs. Zimmerman, I think many people know her now as Sarah Jerome. And she just passed a couple years ago. So.
Now, you were the youngest of 5?
Right.
Okay. So there were 4 older kids in your family, but none of them went to college.
No.
So how was the family reaction to your setting a different goal for yourself here?
I was sort of, I felt kind of neglected. I mean, it wasn't that way, but my parents are both Depression era people, and so, providing and making a good home environment was all that they cared about, and that you behaved and you were a good person. So really wasn't anything astounding to them or anything.
Well, when we were talking, you described for me your, as I would kind of put it, somewhat unusual church situation as a youngster, because your parents didn't go.
No, they never had any religion at all, and they weren't opposed to it, but they didn't have any commitments. And they didn't care if I did or didn't go. But my best friend, his family was very religious, and so I just went with him to Vacation Bible School and then regular Sunday school every Sunday, probably from the time I was 5 or 6.
Yeah. So you told me everything was fine about going to church until you and the minister had a parting of the ways over something that was pretty important to you.
Yeah.
A major theological divergence between the two of you.
Well, I enjoyed all the stories, and I went along with it, and of course they had all the Savior type things and come to Jesus kind of things, which okay, I wasn't involved in that. But then in one of the sermons or something, somehow it came up that dogs weren't allowed to go to heaven, and I questioned that and even talked to the minister, and he says, "Oh no, they don't have a soul. They can't." I thought, that's not right. I mean, I started thinking about it, and all this is sort of theory to me. I mean, there's no, concrete evidence of these fantastic things that happened, but, so I couldn't, that didn't abide with my faith. So
Yeah.
I parted ways and did not go back to church, really.
When did you pick up going to church again, or?
Well, I had one girlfriend, actually. My wife may not know about that, from Macon, and I went to church with her for a while. And, sort of had the same feelings about church. You know, it was okay, but that was more just to be around a girl. I
Sure,
think.
sure.
And then after I met Kathy, I really didn't start attending church with her until maybe after we were married, and our kids were in church, and I did feel that I should come and help out in the nursery, so I was here quite often
Yeah.
through their young years
Right.
and all. And I found that, you know, there were differences in the religions.
Yeah, yeah,
Because the church I went to was a Church of God, which
Yeah.
I found out much later on that's pretty far out there.
yeah.
Their beliefs.
So you finished school here in Decatur with your concentration mostly in the sciences and math.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. I started Millikan with three possible majors in mind: math, chemistry, and biology.
physics.
That's right. Good. Physics actually became a minor after I found out I couldn't handle independent study courses. I didn't have the discipline to do that, so I got like a C+ or something, and I said, oh, well, then that'll be a minor.
And somewhere along in here, you met Kathy.
Yeah, my senior year, in April of my senior year, we went on a date and became companions for so much, all of my life.
Yeah.
And she has been a great influence, and that's probably the luckiest decision. Well, it wasn't a decision on my part, it was a decision on hers to allow me in her life, so.
So after graduating from Millikan, what did you do?
Well, I wanted to be a perpetual student, so I looked around and got an assistantship at Northern Illinois University in mathematics, and started my master's program straight out of college.
Finally, at the end of that, then it came time to, okay, now,
Yeah.
okay, real life is knocking at my door, and I got to figure out here where I'm going to go.
Right. I had my master's in pure mathematics. I didn't choose to do anything applied. I didn't want to have an application kind of thing, so I just enjoyed the mathematics itself. And so I was faced with three decisions within that 1 month after when I was close to graduating. I was accepted at the University of Illinois for the third time. I was undergraduate, graduate, and then met for my PhD. And I did eventually go there. It took about 50 hours in programming, but so I had that option, but I was poor and making $320 a month, and I thought, no, I don't think I want to keep doing that, at least because of the other decisions I had. And I had a offer from Caterpillar to go in their computer programming department, and that option was, well, you could be anywhere in the world in 3 years. And that didn't appeal to me. I was just sort of a homebody. I mean, I went to Northern. That was the only time I lived away from home for 2 years there. And the third option was Eisenhower High School offered me, that's where I student taught, so they knew me. And actually, they offered me a job 1 year into my master's, and I said, nah, I'm not doing that. I'm stopping my program.
Yeah.
So I decided, well, that's a 1 year commitment. Caterpillar, I was going to be trained for 9 months, and so I felt like, I feel obligated to give back to the company that time that money they spent on me. So I thought, well, I can teach for a year. I kind of enjoyed the assistantship I had at Northern, where I taught classes and such. So I thought, I'll try that for a year, and then I can decide what I'll do. And so that happened year after year after year for 36 years. And it was a wonderful career, very, very interesting and varied, and I was in control of my destiny kind of there.
Sure. You were talking to me a little bit about your, how you came about sort of arriving at, what's my course here? Which way am I going to go? reverted back to actually something that you picked up in childhood, right?
But there's a program, we played games as kids, and one of them was Life, where you have the little cars and the people that you stuck in there and all. But one that sort of resonated more with me was called Careers. And in that, the aspect of that was before you begin the game, to win the game, everybody had a different goal. And you had three components. You had money, happiness, and fame. And each of those you could, the total of the points that you allotted to them had to be 60. So you could allot it any way you want. You could say all money, 60. So your goal then would be to get $60,000 in that case. Or it could be all happiness or all fame. And so most people would split, a 20-20-20 is a nice split, a little bit of each. But I tended to have more towards the happiness, which I consider like family, more family-oriented type stuff. And maybe a 40, 10, 5, you have to have that up to 60. 40, 15, 5, where 15 was the money and 5 was the fame or such. And so over the course of my life, and looking back, it came out more like close to that, 40, but probably 10-10. So I got more fame than I wanted probably in my life. I didn't seek it out, but it seemed to find me sometimes. So.
Yeah. But it gave you a framework
Right.
to kind of think about.
There's a balance.
Right, and to put things into boxes rather than looking at everything globally and having maybe a hard time figuring out what was more meaningful for you.
Yeah.
That's good. And then in 1979, you were offered an opportunity to go with the Navy?
Yeah, it came out of the blue. I think someone was at the recruiting office, looked around and saw, oh, this guy teaches calculus. So we need calculus teachers in our nuclear power school in Orlando, Florida. And it was at the time where many teachers face that dilemma, should I stay in teaching or get out? And I was very frustrated with the discipline of the students and the behavior and such. And so I thought, well, I'm going to go look at this because, maybe that's something I want to do.
Yeah.
And one of my questions was, what about discipline? What if I have some problems? He says, you will not have any problems whatsoever. If you do, that person is on KP. They're out of the place. So
Yeah.
and so it was sound pretty good, in a nice environment. But then when he was showing us around and was with some pride said, yes, you can go into any one of our calculus rooms at the same time of the day at that hour, and they're on exactly the same problem. And he was proud of that. I thought, that's not how I teach.
Yeah.
I'm not that rigid of
Yeah.
an instructor. So
How about a little creativity here? So decided that the Navy job wasn't,
yep.
you didn't want to be that kind of an automaton.
Exactly,
Yeah,
automechanics.
Yeah. But overall, as you look back on things now and think about, your plan of, how you thought, what percentage of your life would, be in each area and so forth, you feel like things have kind of worked out as you had hoped?
Yeah. I'm satisfied with it. I mean, you can't go back and change things all, and you wonder what would happen on those other paths. But I'm very happy with what's happened.
That's good. So that's good.
And my daughter's made us travel the world, Korea and India and Italy and France, and so we just followed her to her destinations. So.
Good. Well, thanks so much for sharing your story with us.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.